Hi everyone, I am Tip Top Hamza, and you're welcome to the Global Scholarship Series, a masterclass session organized by Potently, and brought to you live on YouTube at the Rookie Analyst. It's going to be a series to demystify everything you need to know about scholarship. And welcome everyone to episode one of the series. Over the coming sessions, we'll break down scholarship country by country. But first, let's start from the beginning. What exactly is a scholarship and why does it matter for you? Before we proceed, this session is going to be a series of episodes, and we will also have people that have enjoyed the scholarships in any of the countries that we're going to target in this masterclass. So let's get started. So too many students confuse scholarships with many terms like loans, right? And some just see scholarship as a free money that you don't owe anything back, which literally could be right. But this distinction matters because it changes how you think about applying. It is not a debt, it is an award or a reward. So you have to apply for it. And they usually come in different forms, right? There are some that comes as a grant, either to a professor or to a lab, and then you apply to do the research under them, and then they use part of it to pay for your tuition fee waiver, right? And some comes as a bursary, which is basically a financial support for students in hardship. It's usually a small amount. Sometimes it could just be to cover your living expense or could cover just your tuition fee waiver. And we have the fellowship, which is just a research focused funding, which covers your study and your living cost for a specific academic project or role. And we have the scholarship, which is the broader term, which in most cases it covers all non-repayable student funding. That means it covers everything. That's why you hear fully funded scholarship sometimes, which is what every student is aiming for, a fully funded scholarship, and which covers your tuition, your accommodation, your stipend, even your healthcare, and so much more. It's fully funded, right? So it makes a whole lot of sense. So this category called scholarship is usually used broadly over um, grant, bursary, and fellowship in some cases, but they are definitely different. And when you hear sometimes they tell you a scholarship, or it's just tuition fee waiver, or it's just 50% scholarship, or it's just so if you are looking for scholarship, your watchword should always be the fully funded ones because it covers everything you could think of or you will ever need. However, sometimes you may have to opt in for other scholarships that are not fully funded. But if your tuition fee is covered and you're living, and then you're getting a stipend for research, sometimes that is all you needed. You probably wouldn't have other things could be handled. Okay, so these are just broadly type of scholarships that you just need to understand, right? And another thing you need to understand is why you actually need a scholarship. So depending on the kind of course you're going to study and in which country you're going to study that course, you probably have to pay average annual cost of international study of maybe 30,000 to around 60,000, depending on the course, right? Or the university you're being study. And imagine paying this, taking it as a loan, or you having to work to pay this over 4 years if it's a PhD, or even 6 years, depending, and sometimes just 1 or 2 years if it's a master's. I know some people that have financial savings or backing would prefer to just go for a self-sponsored or self-funded studies. So because they will have the extra time to work, maybe 2 hours in any field that they wanted, right? But a lot of people are being impaired from their dream because they do not have the funding to study abroad or to study in their desired school, even in the same country that they've been given birth to or they've grown. So this is why you need a scholarship. And sometimes a reasonable percentage of scholarship spots usually go unfilled each year because maybe people are not prepared for it, or the funding committee did not see that and did not see applicants that are fit for the funding, because this is an investment in you in the future over a value or a potential value that you're going to give. So they needs to see that potential value to be able to know that yes, you up to the tax before you be able to get that funding. So and education costs keep rising. So and debt is also the alternative. People you go and borrow money for loan, and then after studies you have to start paying that back over 10 years sometimes, depending on how much you're earning in your job and all of that. And the truth why another reason why you need scholarship is that the opportunity is real, and now thousands of scholarships go um, advertised every year, and sometimes even undiscovered by people that actually needed it the most. And it's only people that are privileged or people that are informed, which in most cases they don't need it, they end up being the one getting this scholarships. So now you may still overview of scholarships now in terms of the types of scholarship. We've looked at previously, we've just seen how they've been categorized, right? But they're kind of the types, which is merit based. There is the one that is just for academic achievement or leadership or community investment. Like for instance, we have the Chevening, which is targeted at people of high impact value in the communities. We have the Erasmus and those, which is majorly targeted at people that are maybe with first class or like a very strong academic standing. So these are all merit based, and it could be on different criteria, GPA or not, right? I know you already think, I don't have first class, I don't have 2-1. Don't worry, we're going to demystify and tell you some myths that scholarships are not just meant for people with first class, okay? And there's a way even you with a second class lower could position yourself, and you probably even stand a more chance than a first class that did not position himself very well. So we have kind of um, government scholarships, which are still the one I did mention in terms of we have the Fulbright, we have Koika, we have KGSP or GKS in Korea, we have the CSC in China, Fulbright in USA, Chevening in UK, even Commonwealth in UK, and all of that. And there are other ones that are just equity and diversity, which is for underrepresented group, for underrepresented groups. In First Nations, maybe women in STEM, it could be in Africa, it could be disability, it could be regional, it could be minority backgrounds. Either way, it's almost every country have this kind of scholarships, and those are just the start fellowships, okay, which is just usually PhD or master's research positions and cover tuition fee and stipends and often research cost. And we have those that is university awards, which is an institution specific funding, often automatic on acceptance. Once you've gotten an admission, automatically you get that award in terms of scholarship. It could be fully funded, it could be a tuition fee waiver, it could be whatever it is, and sometimes it could just be need based. Okay, so and there's a special category which is just a professor scholarship. Remember earlier we talked about grants given to the professors, right? So now a professor could apply for grant, let's say from Thermo Fisher Scientific, for instance, and if in order for them to carry out a sensitive research, or even from an R&D company of international organizations, maybe like Samsung and what have you, and they'll probably need they will need students to support them while they're carrying out their research. So they employ you, and then they kind of pay your stipends, but for you to work with them you probably get some masters, and from that payment they get to pay your school fees, and then they also give you stipends. Sometimes they don't pay your school fees, they just pay you everything enough for you to pay your fees yourself. It all depends, have different semantic, and this is where a lot of people are not really diving into, because it only requires you to start by sending an email to a professor, because you probably don't know the kind of grant that is available. So all you need is just to send um just for you to send an email to professors. We're going to see how to send cold emails to professors and all the tools. I'm going to give you templates. This scholarship session is just going to be like the full masterclass you ever needed for anything that has to do with scholarship. Now let's move on to the myths. So let's bust the scholarship myths. And usually people be like, oh, you need perfect grades to get a scholarship. That is not true. I have friends that are assistant professors now, or they're research professors now, and they never had a first class or even a two or second class upper, right? They didn't have a good grade, but they're actually good, and then they've proven to themselves, to the professors or to a scholarship body, that yes, they are good beyond their grades. And that's one of the reasons why potently exists, to back high potential and not just high grades. And students with 70% average win full scholarship to top universities every year. So stop filtering yourself out before the committee gets to see your application. Apply first, then let them decide. And the reality is that hundreds of applications are not graded based or are not like they're not based on grades at all. That's why I explained earlier for you to understand the equity, the niche, the community types, the professor scholarship, and all of that. They're not usually based on grades. There are those that are just based on leadership, like the Chevening, based on your leadership, your volunteering, your personal story, which often outweighs your academic scores. And now, technical skills like analysis, data analysis, and we're still going to have a session on data analysis here. That's why the rookie analyst is partnering with Potently to bring you almost everything that you need to excel as a youth. Okay, we're going to have a session on a masterclass on data analysis, Excel, SPSS, GraphPad Prism, Origin Pro, R, and what have you. Okay, and many scholarship explicitly target average students from disadvantaged background because they want to close the gap. Okay, and the second myth is that the competition is too high. I don't stand a chance. That's not true. The idea of overwhelming competition is mostly a perception problem. There are hundreds of less known scholarships where a well prepared applicant with 70% average and a strong story wins easily, or even less than 70% average. So stop competing with imaginary applicants. Prepare, send in your applications. And there are many startups now that are investing their time to help you prepare responsibly. And one of them is Scholodo. I'm going to introduce you to Scholodo later on in this interview, this episode here. And the third is the scholar myth about scholarships are only for students from rich countries. That's not true. In fact, many scholarships are targeting people from um underserved communities or underserved continent like Africa, right? So and even Asia. So it is important for you to really research, and that is why you're here. If you stick with us to the end of this episode, this is going to be probably 20 to 22 episodes long and cover everything about scholarship and also in details about 10 countries you should consider for your studies abroad. Myth number four, scholarship are only for exceptional geniuses. Scholarship reviewers read thousands of applications from technically brilliant students. What they remember is the student with a compelling story, a clear goal, and evidence of impact. Genius is not the differentiator. Preparation and authenticity is. So that is why it's important for you to prepare responsibly such that scholarship could be delivered to you intelligently. And these are the first five countries that we're going to see, but that's after we fully understand everything about scholarships, right? Australia, United Kingdom, South Korea, United States, China. Then we have the second stage, which is going to be the Canada, Japan, Ireland, Austria, Germany. So these are the five, the 10 countries that we're going to look at after we've really understood everything that needs to be known about writing scholarship, your CV for academic CV, SOPs. Once we've known all of that, we'll now deep dive into each of these countries. And I told you guys about Scholodo. Scholodo is a platform that delivers scholarship intelligently and help you prepare responsibly. It uses AI to match scholarships that are currently available, like live scholarships. So instead of you jumping around from one website to the other searching for scholarship, just go to Scholodo. You fill your profile and you click on the search button. For free, is going to bring out a list of scholarships that match your background and how well you qualify for it, and then the requirement, what you need to prepare, and what you need to do differently. It is really a very awesome web AI app tool that you can use, and it also have a level of human intelligence to it. You can book a session with the humans, and then they'll help you to they'll help you review your CVs, they'll help you for mock interviews, and even have one-on-one session with the lead scholars. And how to use the series is watch every episode because they are connected and they build upon one another. And also, more importantly, after watching all of this, which is going to be like 11 to 15 episodes, then you can now select a country that you want to go to. And once you select that country, then you can watch everything that needed to be on this country. And our slides is going to be posted on our Telegram channel for free, which is the t.me/potentlyyhq. So you can also have the slides alongside these videos that you're watching on YouTube. This is strictly a YouTube masterclass course. You can only find this on YouTube. And next, we're going to look at what scholarship committee actually look for. And see you on the next one. Cheers.